How's it going, everyone? I'm Aaron Datu. Welcome to another wedding walkthrough Wednesday. Today we're going to be talking about my next day edits. So just to preface everything, my next day edits don't really line up well with like how I edit like a wedding film, like the final product, just because the main priority is speed and getting it done as fast as I can for the next day, hence the name next day edit. It does take a little bit of time to get used to doing a next day edit. There is a certain workflow involved. Another thing to note is if you are doing your next day edits, it definitely helps a lot to have music selection in advance. And the way you get music selection in advance is to just constantly listen to music to whatever software you are using for music. I personally use MusicBed. They have a large variety of different artists from any genres that you could think of, and you could filter out all the music through whatever kind of feel the couple wants for their wedding day, and that best represents the wedding couple. So now that we got that little preface out of the way, we will be talking about how I actually begin the whole next day edit. So we'll dive into the desktop. So as always, every wedding film I produce or every next day edit I produce always has the same beginning steps, and that is offloading your footage. Again, you want to offload your footage into the designated folder from your file structure. After I get all the footage imported into their designated folders, in which you will see like from my past last week's or weeks prior video, I will then rename the Final Cut Pro library into their name, and then I'll open that up and import the media. So on here I did pull up a previous wedding library, and it is already archived, but just for example purposes, I'll show you what I would have done for when I am importing the media into the library. So I choose the project itself or the event itself or the date. So in my Final Cut Pro like interface, I will click on the event or whatever I want to import it into, click the arrow, and then wherever I want the media imported, like wherever is designated into like my file structure system, I'll then go into copy to library, and I don't create proxies. So that is the one thing that I don't do when I am creating my next day edits. Again, proxies do take a lot of time, especially if you have gigabytes or even terabytes of footage that you have to generate proxies for. So that is the one difference when I am making those next day edits compared to like the wedding films. And again, you could transcode proxies at a later date when you are making your wedding film. So after you have all your media imported, and that will probably take some time, while that is importing, I would suggest looking for music on whatever you're using. So I do use MusicBed. Again, I just love the quality of music they have and the wide variety of artists that really fit any couple out there. And you'll notice a lot of my workflows I produce, I want to do things at the same time. So I know importing media is going to take a while, especially if it's a lot of data, whatever is correct pronunciation. But while that is going, I'll do other things. So while that's going and it's still taking a while to import the footage, I'll look for music, shower or something, because after a wedding day I do want to just like relax and not have to be in those like sweaty like wedding clothes or like shirt and pants and everything, because I don't know about you guys, but I sweat a lot, or I get like really like tired and fatigued after a wedding day. I mean, I'm probably not the only one. So just having that time to relax, probably eat something, look for music, stuff like that while the imports saves you a lot of time. And one of the features I use a lot for their filters for finding music is has build. So when you go over to the advanced and on build, I'll always go to has build. Depending on, again, the type of music. If it's instrumental, I'll go with instrumental, but I don't really make any of that yet. I kind of just want to stay with has build, mood. Again, majority is going to be either love or peaceful, maybe. Again, it depends, it depends on every couple. Attributes, you want it to have do you want more earthy feel to your wedding edits or next day edits, but more lyrical, stuff like that. And you could very much dial in like the kind of music you want to be filtered out when you are searching for music. Again, I use MusicBed, but you don't have to use MusicBed. I just personally like their variety of music that fits well with how my style of editing is. After you find your music, then you want to kind of mark it up, and I use markers to mark the beats if you are the type of person that wants to edit to the beat, or at least have a little flow and see like how the shots will change. And the closer to beats, the more build there will be, in a way, if it is a song with build. But I like to keep my next day edits at 1 minute. I know the majority of people probably don't like to do that. They probably want to do 2 minutes, 3 minutes. But I primarily like to post 1 minute next day edits just because it's on Instagram. Majority of the brides and grooms that I work with are on Instagram, so I do tailor more towards next day edits that are for Instagram. That is also why you'll see a majority of my next day edits are in 1080 by 1350, just so I could get as much screen real estate on Instagram as I can. Again, the more vertical your videos are, the more screen real estate, and when you are looking at your phone, you tend to look at things that are majority of the screen, not just a little sliver of the screen. And a majority of my next day edits are very much more chronological-esque. And the reason I say that is because I already know what shots are going to be key for a next day edit. Of course, you're going to have bride prep, which, I mean, depending on how you shoot, again, you'll have 2 or 3 shots of bride prep going on, 2 or 3 shots of groom prep going on. Maybe you open up with an establisher, or you open up with the bride and groom, or you just open up with like a key moment, like a first look right before they look at each other, or first look with a dad, something like that. But I very much try to make it as chronological as possible, and that also helps with, like, again, speeding up the time, because it is about getting these next day edits out on time, and you also getting enough sleep, because I have been up from a wedding that ended at 11, got home at 1:30, edited until 7 a.m. It's very much not for everyone, so if you're willing to take the sacrifice and put in the work, and you know for a fact that you don't have anything going on the next day, then I would definitely suggest taking a shot at doing some next day edits. But yes, very much chronological. So it goes prep, ceremony, key moments of the ceremony. So bride walking down with her dad, probably the announcement of bride and groom, and then walking down. And then after that, probably more, I don't really include too much reception stuff unless there's something really cool that happened that I remembered. But majority of the next day edits are very much, you're going to be your like top 10 best shots. You definitely want to keep it as good looking of an edit as possible, and not use shots that are like overly shaky or not key moments, or like just details. And you'll see in this next day edit that I am showing you right now that it is following that same structure. So it does open up with the bride and groom, then there is a drone shot of the reception venue, then there is the dress shot, there is the bridal party, groom getting ready, bride getting ready, ceremony stuff. So it is very much like almost all the great shots of the day that I remembered. And again, like, I was dead tired after this wedding day, and like every wedding film or every wedding I do encounter filming, I am very tired. So I try my best to stay awake. That's where caffeine and all that really helps play a big role in pushing these out the next day. And you'll see here that it does go again with the beats that I have marked out with markers. And the way I do that is I'll just listen to it like one time through once I get my segment done of what I want to use of the song. And then I'll just hit the M button for marker and just mark out, okay, I want a marker here, 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 and then just really get into the music. And then that's when you really know, okay, this is the right spot of the music. And again, like, you want to find music ahead of time. You don't want to be wasting time going through 3 or 4 different tracks. But you'll see here that a lot of the clips are in line with the markers because I've already mapped out the beats of the song. And then in terms of color, I do try to do as quick of a grade as I can. So I do use my own LUTs that I have been working on. Hopefully they will be released pretty soon, but I don't know how long that's going to take. I'm still trying to fine tweak them. But I apply my custom LUT on, and it is also the same LUT that I use for my external monitor, my Atomos Shinobi. That way what I shoot is what I get, so I should be expecting how I shot it to be the outcome after the LUT is applied in my library. Is it library or library? Like, I have bad pronunciation. And no LUT is perfect. There is no one set LUT to just plug and play and it's all done. You do have to make little quick adjustments to everything. And then that is where I use Color Finale Pro. You'll see here like how big of a difference it is with the LUT and without. It really adds a little bit more to the skin tones and a little bit warmer saturation or more contrast. And then I kind of redo that or take some of that contrast out just because I want you to see everything. I don't want everything to be crushed in the darks or in the blacks. I want as much detail in the sky as I can in terms of highlights. Other than that, that's kind of the quick grading I do for my like next day edits. I don't really try to like play it by eye in terms of skin tones, but again, I'm trying to get this done as fast as possible and not spend like 12 hours on editing a 1 minute film. And then after I have like all those clips graded and tweaked and corrected and color corrected and all that stuff, then I do dive into a little bit of sound design. Nothing too crazy, just a little bit like if I have some clips that have audio that's usable, I will use it. And then in terms of sound design, I do add things like leaves blowing in the air or like traffic if it is a drone shot with a cityscape, like birds, stuff like that. Some stuff that like if I look at it, I know I would hear that in the background. And also just to add a little bit more depth into your videos. Sound design really does play a big role. And then after sound design goes like overlays. So if you are the type of person that isn't gonna do the Instagram format and you only do films exported in 16:9, then if you want to add in your letterbox, you can, or any title overlays such as bride and groom, date, stuff like that. I have just stuck with just putting the bride and groom's name at the beginning and having a fade to black at the beginning, or just the opacity fade up. So the way that works in a majority of my next day edits is it starts and ends with a black fade in or black fade out. And I don't use the transitions already in Final Cut Pro. I just use opacity and keyframes. The way that looks is you'll see here. So the way to use opacity, so this is like a little quick tip for when you want to do faded blacks and you don't want to use the ones already given in your editing software. So place where you want the opacity to be fully opacitated. Opacitated? Is that a word? It is a word now. So I'll place a keyframe there. I'll go to the beginning of whatever clip that is. In this case, it's this one. Then I'll bring it all the way to 0. And then magic, watch. Wow. And you will see on the opacity going up, if you do pay attention to when that clip is selected, you'll see the actual triangle thing. Slider, you'll see the slider go up. Again, you don't have to use this method. I personally do, just because every time I add those like already default transitions, it really messes up the timing of all my clips, so I like to do it all manually through keyframes. So after you have it all sound designed, all color graded, all overlaid, and music is to the level and everything you want it to be, you do a little quick mastering of the audio level in terms of like if it's clipping or not. After that's all done and said, that's when I try to look for a screen grab that I use for my thumbnails. And for this film in particular, I ended up using the beginning clip for their thumbnail. So when I do export my thumbnails, I click it on the clip, I'll go to the export, and then I already have a screen grab preset for the export, and honestly it's just a frame from sequence. I do put screen grab just to sort out all the stuff, because I hate using just a 1 or a 2 or picture or something like that. Again, you want to think about when you need to find something, you could easily find it. And then in terms of settings, I do want to export it in a TIFF or a TIFF file, just so I could get as much detail if I have to, again, bump up the saturation or contrast or try to get some detail from the highlights or shadows. I have a little bit more flexibility. After I get my screen grab, that's when I export the actual film itself. Again, I'm using the preference or the bundled up export features or export presets from my first video. It'll be under teaser, FB, and IG. Again, I only just do the vertical edit, and I do end up making the actual horizontal edit when I am making the finished collection of every couple's wedding film. But I do send the finished exported file to the couple via text message, just so that they're the first ones to see it. Hopefully when they wake up, if they're not like super hungover or just wake up super late. But I do want to send it to them first and make sure that they see it before I post it. And then the last step is to tag all your vendors into your next day edit via Instagram, Facebook, or wherever you decide to post it. And to get that information in a questionnaire that you get, again, in pre-production of a wedding film, and getting to know your couples and making sure that you have all the information already in, say, like a Word document or a Google Drive. That way you could easily access it whenever you want, and it's not a headache to have to search their website or Google search for them and, oh, is that the right one? Maybe there's multiple kinds, you know. So definitely want to make sure that you are getting the right vendors tagged to the videos that you are producing. The vendors will appreciate it, and again, it's about working as a team and not against each other. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed a little bit of how I make these next day edits. Sometimes the next day edit can take me only 2 hours. Sometimes it'll take me, again, 7 hours. And it is very much different too if you are like at a destination elopement, or you're not at home, or you don't get access to go home. So it is a little bit of a different workflow. That's all I got for today's video. Hope you learned something new. Again, comment down below if you have any more tips you want to give me or you want to share about next day edits. If you are going to do them, let me know down below. If you have already done them or you are still doing them, share some tips with me. I want to know. I want to learn anything new. So like the video if you liked it, share it if you're into that, consider subscribing if you're not already, and hit that bell notification to stay up to date when I post new videos. And as always, follow me on all the social medias at Aaron Datu Films, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.